unpredictable at the moment, isn't it, between those top three?
Well, the man that leads the championship, Joey Mawson, has never raced here before. So he's the one really on the back foot. And what we've seen over the course of free practice and qualifying as well has been a little bit scrappy. You know, it's not the sort of circuit that seems to be a Mawson-friendly track. So he's had a bit of damage. The pressure is on anyway. He's not raced here before. Harry Newey, who's on pole position, Mick Schumacher, the other championship rival, have both raced here. He's got to be feeling the pressure. He
certainly is, and it's all down to those all-important points. So I'm going to let you get to the commentary booth, and I'm going to speak to the drivers. So let's see who we've got on the grid that we can speak to straight away. Let's go straight to Harry, shall we? Go to P1. Harry, on old tyres. Thoughts going into this? You've got to be thinking about the points.
To be honest, yeah, just starting pole, couldn't be in a better position. My thoughts are really on making a good start and then see what happens from there, really.
You've been here, you know this track, so how do you handle it?
Yeah, I think being here's, been a small advantage, but there's been plenty of testing, and that's obviously people have caught up. But no, going into the race, I know how the track behaves. They've resurfaced it, which has obviously taken a lot of the advantage away from me. But no, yeah, really look forward to the race, and we'll just see what happens.
Okay, thanks, Harry. We'll leave him to it to get into the zone before the start of the race. I'll see if I can speak to Mick beforehand. Mick, it's your favourite rival ahead of you at the moment, isn't it?
No, it's a good rival, I think, because it's always a good battle between us, and I'm looking forward to the race now.
Okay, and tactics all got to be in that start, hasn't it?
Sorry?
It's all got to be in the start.
Yeah, I think so. But the race is long, so we'll see how his tyre degrade will be decreasing, or mine will be after a few laps. So no, as I said, I think it's going to be a good battle and a good race.
Thanks very much, Mick. I'm going to just have a look and see who else is on the grid at the moment. See who we can speak to. Let's go to Dan, because it's actually Dan's first race here in MRF, and not a bad start for you then, Dan, is it?
No, yeah, I'm pretty happy, to be honest, to be on P3 in the first time in the car and in the track, and like you say, the championship. I think the main thing, there's no pressure for me now, so I'll just do the best job I can and take each race as it comes. I think we got good pace, so yeah, I think it's going to be a good few days.
Thanks very much, Dan. And let's making our way back to the front of the grid. Going to see some of our MRF officials, and actually Aaron Mammon, the managing director of MRF, is here waiting. It's a great start for the final round of the season, isn't it?
Oh yes, I think so. It comes down to this race weekend. We had 3 fantastic rounds, and it all boils down to today and tomorrow. And
they really are close.
Oh, fantastic. The top 3-4 cars are very close, and anything can happen. So we have Newey is on pole today, and Mick is second, and so we never know what can happen.
How is it for you to have MRF here at the headquarters of MRF here in Chennai?
MRF has been motorsports for the last 25 years, and we've been actively involved in motorsports probably in all categories, from two-wheeler racing, go-kart, single-seater, rallying. So we've been in motorsports and actively involved in motorsports for a number of years.
Thank you very much. Speak to you later when we see what happens. We can hear the 5-minute board going up. So David, talk us around that track.
Thanks, Louise. It is a very technical circuit. There's a real mix of corners in this, some fast bits, some slow bits, some twiddly bits. And in terms of straights, well, this is the key one, really, the pit straight. And at the end of it, you might be brave enough to do some overtaking. Turn 12, the last corner on the lap, is a place where people make errors. And the general feeling is that if you don't make a mistake and you keep track position, you're going to be very hard to dislodge. But so many errors have been made across the practice and qualifying sessions that we've seen, you would suggest that we're going to have drama in this as well. It's going to be a 15-lap race. It's 3.717 kilometres long, the Irun Gatakotai circuit here in Chennai, just outside Sriperumbudur, the Madras Motor Race track. It is owned by the Madras Motorsports Club. and the race officials ready for race 1 of 4 this weekend. This mini-series, the MRF Challenge, grew out of the old days of a Formula 3 Grand Prix, as it was called, the Madras Grand Prix here in Chennai, and it just became really unrealistic to try and get cars from Formula 3 teams out in February. They only got them back in the UK from the likes of Macau, for example, and a season was looming, so it was never huge in terms of an entry. And so the Madras Motorsports Club pushed for a one-make category, and MRF leapt on board. So these cars, JA Motorsport built with lots of input from Dallara, Renault engines. Everybody has the same combination, therefore, of chassis and engine. Engineers flown in to oversee, some locals, and also some from foreign championships have come to engineer the cars as well. Perhaps the best engineer of all doesn't have a car to work on, but he has one to cheer for. Harry Newey on pole. Dad Adrian is with Louise.
Absolutely. Adrian Newey has many titles to his name, but this weekend he's here as father of poleman. How's that, coming here to Chennai and seeing Harry on pole?
Oh, I mean, he's done really well today. He enjoys driving the car. Did well to get pole, but we all know it's a long race.
He's done well this season, though. He's progressing well.
Yeah, he is. His driving's really coming on. I think he's maturing. We went through the karting, but never kind of put a big effort into karting. But since he's been on four-wheel cars, then he's really coming on.
How important is it to take part in this MRF challenge? Because it gives him a lot of track time.
Sorry, I missed that, Louise.
The importance of MRF challenge gives him a lot of track time in between his other races.
It's a great little championship. We go to good circuits, lots of track time, really enjoying it.
Thanks, we've got to get off the grid, we're getting pushed off. Thank you very much, Adrian.
It's a point well made, though. They do get lots of track time at some great circuits, because you get 2 free practice, 1 qualifying, 4 races. You go to Bahrain, which is a Formula 1 circuit. You go to Dubai, which is an international sports car, GT touring car circuit. You go to Delhi, which is where they held the Indian Grand Prix. And this circuit, which has been the backbone of Indian national racing for many, many years now, an international circuit itself. But this is the great leveller, because it's a circuit that very few people get to race at other than in the MRF Challenge, and that was the point being made earlier, that Schumacher and Newey have raced here, Joey Mawson has not, and so now you start to see who the real guns are. Dan Tickton, for example, another track and category rookie, doing that great job to get himself up to the pointy end of the grid after qualifying. There are 2 cars that are effectively development cars. Narain Kartikeyan drives number 1, Toby Sowery drives number 51. They start from the pit lane because they don't score points, so you can ignore them from the equation. It's the current generation of car that we need to worry about. Harry Newey is on pole, and he got 2 points in the championship for that earlier on. Mick Schumacher lines up second ahead of Dan Tickton, and then Yuri Vips. Ralph Aaron is 5th from Felipe Drugovic. Then it's Joey Mawson, championship leader, only 7th, ahead of newcomers Presley Martono and Neil Verhagen, with Dylan Young rounding out the top 10. Next up is Pavan Ravishankar, ahead of Yoshiaki Katayama. Next on the grid is Manuel Maldonado, and then with damage in qualifying, Chia Wing Hong, with Narain Kartikeyan and Toby Sowery, the ones that will start from the pits. Harry Newey then 2 more championship points to his name after the pole position. So Joey Mawson on 211, Harry Newey now on 186. You get points in the races for being in the top 10, and it's 25 for a win. So there's still 100 points up for grabs, and let's see whether Harry Newey is able to convert pole into a race win. He's had 4 wins already, 1 in Bahrain. Both his next 2 wins were in Dubai, and then he took 1 victory in Delhi by dint of keeping a final set of tyres for the final race. They get 5 sets of tyres across the course of a weekend, so how you use those across qualifying and the races is up to you, but ideally you would like to have fresh tyres for each race, so don't necessarily use both sets in qualifying. We understand that Mick Schumacher and Harry Newey have both tried 2 sets of qualifying, whereas Joey Mawson only used 1 set. That's the 1 new set, that's the information we get, but let's see how that pans out across the weekend and who has used the tyre strategy to best effect. Now, has that car got a problem? It is Manuel Maldonado, who is slowly making his way down towards the grid, and by the look of it, he's going to end up starting slightly out of position. He would have been penultimate, but the car trickling into place. I think he's going to be the right position in the end, so we should be good to go. It is going to be 15 laps. The 5 red lights will go on. The lights go out now. Race 1 of the MRF Challenge for the 2-litre cars underway. Good start by Newey. Not a great start by Schumacher. Bad start by Tickton. Good start by Ralph Aaron. Number 99, it's Newey who leads. Aaron goes second. Schumacher third as they round turn 1 for the first time. And now the run up towards the tight right at turn 2. Schumacher trying to defend from Juri Vips, and Joey Mawson gets up the inside line as well in the turquoise car. Has he gained a place? He's alongside number 9, Dan Tickton. The championship leader needs to be making progress here, but Harry Newey already trying to make good his escape. Ralph Aaron runs second. Mick Schumacher is third as they go up then towards the S's for the first time. Newey trying to pull clear. He's got about, what, 2 lengths in hand already as Mawson tries one side and then the other to get past Tickton. Dylan Young is next in the queue, and he's also busy trying to defend. The leaders are together. Ralph Aaron right on the back of Harry Newey. Ralph Aaron missed one weekend in the championship, so he's not really fighting for the title, but he can take points away from those who are. And so if Ralph Aaron were to be second or even take a race win out of all of this, that might have big implications for the 3 title fighters. Down towards turn 8 they come. Newey goes defensive, moves across, covers the line. And Ralph Aaron being held up a little bit at the moment by a very defensive Harry Newey, doing a good job of hanging on to that lead. Schumacher it is, running in third place. Juri Vips is fourth. Mick Schumacher has dropped a couple of lengths against Ralph Aaron, the Estonian, then running in second spot. Dust kicked up by Juri Vips into the face of Dan Tickton. Then it's Mawson ahead of this man, Dylan Young, aiming for GP3 this coming season. Felipe Drugovich is next in the queue, having also been a race winner this year, but the race leaders are coming up towards the end of lap number 1. Harry Newey it is who leads the way. Drugovich pulls out, pulls back in again. Neil Verhagen on his 16th birthday, number 12, next in the queue as the leaders go by. Harry Newey leading by 7 tenths at the end of lap 1 of 15. 3rd is Schumacher, 4th is Vips, 5th is Tickton, 6th is Mawson, there 7th is Dylan Young, 8th is Drugovich, 9th is Verhagen, in 10th place is Martono. Dust is kicked up coming out of turn 1 as there up the inside tries to go Felipe Drugovich. Door is closed pretty vigorously by Dylan Young. Dylan has had a 6th and a 5th this year, but he's not been on the podium. He won't do from this race, seemingly, but he wants to hang on to that place as best he can. And now, look, Newey is very definitely getting away. The leading gap, 7 tenths of a second when they came onto this lap. Dylan Young has got a right old battle pack behind him as well now, hasn't he? Because he's got Verhagen, then Martono, with Drugovich in the mix as well, all queued up behind him. Joey Mawson stuck behind Dan Tickton for the moment. Now, Tickton and Vips and Ralph Aaron all in that leading sextet, and of course not factors for the championship, so they're taking points away, most significantly, from Joey Mawson here. So the Sydney driver, who has been racing in Europe in single-seaters for the last 3 seasons, came to the French Formula 4 Championship, then had spells in the German Championship for 2 years and won it in 2016. He runs at the moment in 6th spot as the cars work their way through turn 10. Dust kicked up by Dylan Young as he ran down that back straight. There, 83 is Manuel Maldonado, making progress from near the rear of the grid as the leaders work their way towards turn 12. And Harry Newey has certainly not been able to completely escape from Ralph Aaron because that gap has come down. And Nats once again over the line. Best lap of the race now done by Ralph Aaron, so it's 0.6 of a second between the top 2. Ralph Aaron giving it everything he's got here, and Joey Mawson likewise as he tries to get onto terms with Dan Tickton. Mawson goes wide, kicks up the dirt. Does he hang on to it? Does it snap sideways? Does he come out of the smoke screen? Yes, he does. So Joey Mawson, who had an off there in the qualifying session this morning, gets away with that. But again, just like we've seen over the weekend, it's just a little bit scrappy from the Australian. It's not his favourite circuit, it is fair to say, but he's lost out, what, 2-3 lengths. So Dan Tickton pulls away now as the cars sprint their way up through the S's. And of course, by running wide at high speed over the bumpy runoff area, it doesn't do the floor of the car any good. Therefore, it becomes even more difficult to handle for the remainder of the race. So Dan Tickton in 5th spot at the moment, setting off in pursuit of Juri Vips. Estonians 2nd and 4th. Aaron there 99, 44 is Vips, who has, like Ralph Aaron, come out of the German and Italian F4 Championship. Mawson back on the tail of Tickton pretty quickly though. Works his way now through turn 8. Schumacher using the curb there as he comes out of turn 9, just picks up that little cut through the curb next to it. Joey Mawson accelerating towards the end of lap number 3. Harry Newey then was 0.641 of a second ahead last time around. Replay of the start. Let's have a look at Mick Schumacher, who didn't get a great getaway. Ralph Aaron certainly did, and Juri Vips was well and truly blocked by Schumacher, so he had to suddenly switch sides. Dan Tickton stood his ground on the outside. Joey Mawson likewise as they worked their way through turn 1. And contrary to expectations, everybody survived. Up through turn 2. Pavan Ravishankar there, 28, accelerating out of the corner. Replay of the start. Tictum bogged down a little bit, so Ralph Aaron got a very good start, accelerated up past him. Schumacher trying to defend from Vips on the inside, but it was Ralph Aaron that went through the middle, picked up second place on the way down towards turn number 1. Replay again, you see Dan Tictum just hesitating a little bit, so he got jumped by Ralph Aaron, and he was coming through, wasn't he, as Yuri Vips was blocked by Schumacher. He tried to move to the other side and then realised that Ralph Aaron was there, so that wasn't going to happen for him. Have another look. Schumacher not that good away, so he has to make the car wide, and Vips kind of gets blocked in there. It's like driving on Indian roads, that, where you have to suddenly veer from one side to the other to make progress through the traffic. It worked for Ralph Aaron, not for Yuri Vips. So the leading 4, with the gaps opening up, work lap 4 of 15 as they head down towards turn 8. Mawson pulls out and has a look to unsettle Dan Tictum. His last full season of racing back in 2015, the MSA Formula, when he had 3 race wins before his incident at Silverstone with Ricky Collard, which ended up in an effective ban for 12 months, but he came back at the end of last season. Lock up there, so Tictum, having raced in FIA Formula 3, the BRDC's Winter F3 Trophy, and the Macau Grand Prix, is now in danger of losing out to Joey Mawson, who's trying to urge the car up the inside at turn 12, oh so close to being able to do it, capitalising on Tictum's error. There might be another one as Tictum goes up onto the curb, but no, Dan Tictum hangs on to that. Good run as they come over the line. So the race leaders currently on lap number 5. Harry Newey it is, who leads the way, and the gap is up to 1.8 seconds. Saw a moment ago, Arun Mammon looking on from the VIP area as the cars sprint their way now around lap 5. Marco Asma and Rupert Svensson-Cook here driver coaching, looking at the pictures in the pit lane as Harrison Newey continues to build that lead. So now he is very definitely scarpering as far as Ralph Aaron is concerned. Behind, you've got Mick Schumacher. Now is Schumacher coming back at the Estonian? And if so, could he find a way past? And I wonder whether he could then do anything about Harry Newey. But the lead is being built up all the time. Newey over practice and qualifying has been mighty spectacular. But unlike some, he's been able to catch pretty much everything that might have led to a downfall. Get it sideways, hit a curb, he's always been able to control it. Mawson up the inside of Tictum, still can't do it. Yet again, the door is closed by Dan Tictum, so Joey Mawson still frustrated, conscious that points are ebbing away here. Accelerating now down towards the kick before turn 10. Remember, it's 25 points for a race win. Joey Mawson currently in 6th, you only get 8th for that, so his championship lead could well be ebbing away over the course of this race. Mawson down towards turn 12, he will turn his way through the right-hander. Joey Mawson has been the only man to have been in the points in every race in the championship this year. Not only that, he's not been lower than 6th, but that could all change today. He's still in the points, but another 6th place is on the cards, and could he lose another spot? Let's see. Dylan Young is behind him, but not close enough to really put pressure on Mawson as yet. So Joey potentially could equal his worst. 6th is still not that bad, but in terms of points, it's not good, especially when Harry Newey has already taken 2 for qualifying better than anybody else, and taking that pole position and now dominating the race. The lead gap was 1.8. It's come down to 1.6, in fact, last time around, so Ralph Aaron perhaps being urged on by having Mick Schumacher behind him. He's certainly not given up. The cars now threading their way up through the S's that takes you to turn 6 and 7, that long loop. Down towards turn 8 now comes the race leader Harry Newey. Schumacher no longer a threat to Ralph Aaron, actually that gap has widened. But look at Tictum versus Mawson, that gap has suddenly shot up. Now of course the problem is in slicks and wing single-seaters that if you get in the dirty air then you actually go a little bit slower, so sometimes you have to lag back and take a bit of a breather. You then go quicker, catch up again and get stuck. You've got to be very, very brave to come from a long way back to make a pass, and this is not the sort of circuit that's got those sorts of straights and corner configurations. So Joey Mawson taking a breather, dropping back, might then pick up the pace once his tyres have had a breather as well, and see what he can do about unsettling Dan Tictum. But really, it's trying to force a mistake out of the people ahead that's going to win you most now, rather than being in a position where you just sit on the tail. Dylan Young is the man soaking up the pressure here from Felipe Drugovich and then Neil Verhagen. Neil, 16 today, the American. Like Dan Tictum, he's part of the Red Bull Junior Team programme. He will drive for the MP Motorsport team in the Formula Renault Euro Cup this coming season. And as they work their way now towards turn 2, Drugovich to the inside of Dylan Young, still can't find a way by. Not for the want of trying though. And of course, Drugovic is conscious that anything he tries that may not work out, right there ready to pick up the pieces, is Neil Verhagen behind him. So this battle now is 7th, 8th and 9th as the cars work their way up towards the S's once again. And Dylan Young just starting to edge away ever so slightly. Lap 7 we're now on. Out of that little S they go. The next significant corners, turns 4 and 5, the next sequence, out of which comes Young, comes Drugovic, then Verhagen. Behind them, running in 10th, the last scorer is Presley Martono. Harry Newey up front, 1.8 seconds to the good as Drugovic got better speed than Dylan Young. It looks like he might have, but Dylan fends him off on the inside line down towards turn 8, out of which they will turn now. So again, a frustrated Drugovic can't find a way by. Looks like the inside at turn 9 might just be able to force the issue. Yes, he does, and Young spins, and Verhagen goes off in avoidance. Round goes the Australian, off goes the American. So Felipe Drugovic robust. There was no contact, but he was coming through. Dylan Young had to make his own arrangements. He got out onto the marbles and lost it, and Verhagen saw what was going on, tried to steer out of it, and his car snapped away from him as well. So there is a shuffle, and in spectacular fashion, as now we've also had a change for second place because Mick Schumacher has gone through ahead of Ralph Aaron. So Schumacher has gone by. We'll try and pick up how that happened in a moment, but we've had the change for second place on the road. There's the replay of Dylan Young getting out onto the marbles. Traction disappears, and Verhagen, who saw it all coming, tried to suddenly swerve away from it and lost traction himself, and he rotates onto the dirt. But while we've been watching that, and we've incidentally got Narain Kartikeyan down the pit lane, the race order is now Newey, Schumacher, and then third, Ralph Aaron. So there now, second, crucially, because it's more points for him, is Mick Schumacher. Gets another 3 out of that, 18 rather than 15. And has Aaron got a problem? Because not only has he dropped a long way back from Schumacher, he's being reeled in by Juri Vips. So Ralph Aaron, number 99, I fear, may have a problem here. Dan Ticktum is still 5th, but he's being caught again by Joey Mawson as they work their way down to turn 8 this time. Mawson had a big spectacular off here this morning, didn't hit anything, but it was a big lock-up as he got onto the marbles and slithered off the road. What about for third place? Aaron or Vips come the end of the race? Working their way through to the end of lap 8 out of 15, or 30 minutes, depending on which comes first. Down now through the right-hander of turn 12 comes the race leader Harry Newey over the timing line. 3.4 seconds clear he is, and that gap's going up. Even though Mick Schumacher is up into second place, he's still not matching the lap times of Harry Newey. And the point his dad was making on the grid is borne out by the fact that an awful lot of the wild driving and the mistakes that Harry made in his early single-seater days now seem to be well and truly behind him. He's looking a lot more composed, a lot more complete as a driver, and further evidence of that coming here in this first of 4 MRF2000 races at the MRF Challenge weekend here in Chennai. So what can Schumacher do? What can Mawson do? He needs points, he needs places. So he's set to maintain the championship advantage, but it'll be much reduced come the end of this with Harry Newey and Mick Schumacher outscoring him. Of course, Schumacher ideally wants to be ahead of Harry Newey as well, but for the moment, it is Harrison Newey with 3.4 seconds in hand. Mawson pressing on, he's getting a little bit nearer to the back of Dan Ticktum. Now you've seen, if you can force a mistake out of the driver, what can happen. But Dan Ticktum, who doesn't often crack under pressure, defends, and Mawson locks up. Is he going to run on the grass? Oh, so close to doing so. And as a result of all of that, loses 3-4 lengths against Dan Ticktum. So Mawson tried to make a move, it didn't work. Mr. Mammon looks on, the managing director of MRF. The driver coaches, hello Rupert, in the pit lane, hello Marco, and over the timing line comes Harry Newey. He wants to be waving from the top step of the podium come the end of this, and he leads the way as they work their way over the timing line. Schumacher second. Now, the battle of the Estonians, third and fourth. Ralph Aaron has been caught by Juri Vips. The lead gap has come down ever so slightly, incidentally, between Newey and Schumacher, down from 3.6 to 3.4 seconds as Aaron locks up at turn 2. Behind them, Dan Ticktum still being able to keep Juri Vips at bay. We're on lap 10 of 15, race 1 of 4. The results of this race give you the grid for race 2, but with the top 6 reversed. Who's 6th? It's Joey Mawson. So he might here consider that staying 6th would be a good plan. If if you genuinely can't find a way past Dan Ticktum, don't force the issue, and instead concentrate on being on pole position and trying to get points in race 2. Do it that way. Harry Newey potentially would start 6th. They'll have a bit more work to do, and you've seen how hard it is to get through the traffic. They've paired off, so you've got Newey and Schumacher for the lead. You've got Aaron and Vips here for 3rd, and then for 5th, Ticktum versus Mawson. And in fact, Joey has not given up because Dan Ticktum had run a little bit wide, and Mawson's through. He's done it, but he goes wide. He's up to 5th, but Ticktum fights back on the outside line as they work their way down for the kick. But Joey Mawson has done it. He's gone through then. So Mawson up to 5th. He'll still be on the front row, but that gives him another couple of points as well in the championship, that one place, and he's worked so hard to get through. So finally, Joey Mawson has cracked Dan Ticktum. He goes by, he takes now 5th position as they work their way through to start lap number 11. Leaders go by. Newey to Schumacher is down again, 3.2 seconds. I think this is probably Harry Newey driving within himself, but even so, Mick Schumacher is certainly getting closer. He's not given up far from it as Mawson locks up just a little bit as he works his way around turn 2. Now there is Yuri Vips, who has dropped away again from Ralph Aaron. They were quite close a little while ago, but now he's fallen back by a few cars' lengths, so that gap widens between the pair of them. Dan Ticktum, having fallen back behind Joey Mawson, losing ground a little bit as well now. The gap widening by, what, 3-4 lengths. There is Mick Schumacher, a bit lonely in his 2nd place, but really happy at least to be outscoring Joey Mawson. There is Mawson still pressing on in 5th spot. He had an off on Friday in free practice that did a little bit of damage to the floor of the car, but he's recovered from that. And actually, this has been a better showing. He's had 1 or 2 lock-ups, and they came mid-race and one right at the very start, but he has looked a bit more composed, and he has also been able to make progress and gain ground, and crucially gain some points. So the 2 that Harry Newey had effectively gained for taking pole position now are negated really by Joey Mawson gaining 1 extra place here. So through to start that 12 goes Newey. Been a masterclass out front, hasn't it? He has been able, on cold tyres as well on the first lap, to push and build up an advantage. So Harrison Newey, from the French and British F4 championships to the British and the German championship. He raced in the MRF Challenge last year and was 5th, the 2015-2016 season. And this last year he's been racing in the FIA European Formula 3 Championship. He was only 18th. It was a very steep learning curve, but perhaps it was the right thing to do to really throw him into the bear pit up against more experienced drivers and see how he fared. And as the season wore on, he was getting better and better and better. And so now, with 4 pole positions and looking as though it's going to be win number 5, let's see what he can do. He works his way down towards the right-hander, the turn 8. There is Schumacher behind him, Aaron, and then Yuri Vips. Joey Mawson a little bit in no man's land, but Dan Ticktum is the one that's fallen back. So having finally lost out to the Australian, Dan Ticktum has nothing in retaliation, the car dropping away. Schumacher still pushing, the gap was down again by just under a 10th last time, 3.1 seconds between Newey and Schumacher. Over the brow comes Mick, kicks up the dirt, former kart racer before he came to the ADAC F4 Championship. Even though his uncle Ralph runs a team in that, he's never driven for it. He's been with Fritz van Amersfoort's team and then Prema, René Roshan's team. And Mick Schumacher, runner-up to Joey Mawson in the German Championship in 2016, 5 times a race winner. Ralph Aaron there, the 2015 Italian F4 champion, a bit sideways coming out of turn 1. But the race leaders now on lap 13 of 15, and Harry Newey getting closer and closer and closer to yet another win. Yuri Vips in a rather distant 4th place, and Harry Newey here in replay, coming out of turn 1. Schumacher behind him, goes a little bit wide, kicks up the dirt, but nothing lost too much by that. Just brings a little bit more of the soil onto the road to catch out the next wave of cars that will come through. Ralph Aaron it is. So Harry Newey turning his way out of turn 8. Looks as though, dare one say, the order up front has now pretty much settled after the battles that we've had. Where is Dan Ticktum compared to Joey Mawson? He's fallen a long way back, bearing in mind they spent much of the race nose to tail. It's now well over 3 seconds, that margin, and Felipe Drugovich running in 7th spot, but he's too far back, I think, from Dan Ticktum to really think about challenging for position now. Out of the right-hander they come. But there is Newey at turn 12, so ticking off the laps now. And Harry Newey knows that it's just a case of not making any mistakes, and the race is his. Over the timing line he comes, 2 laps to run, and the gap is still 3 seconds over Mick Schumacher, who of course lost time early on when he was stuck behind Ralph Aaron. Interesting where he found a way through, however. We never really got to the bottom of that, as to where Ralph Aaron was passed by Mick Schumacher. And likewise, he, having lost the place, has never looked likely to fight back. That's been a big gap. It's 5 seconds, in fact, now, between the two of them, Schumacher and Aaron. So Harry Newey, with a lap and a half to run, accelerates up towards this little S, through which he turns, out of the left, out of the right. And accelerates on his way, looking good for race honours here. As he does so, this will bring him closer in the championship as well. Joey Mawson still 5th. Now Mawson is just under 3 seconds adrift of Yuri Vips. He's not going to catch him before the end, but Joey is still pushing. In fairness, he's not given up. He may be a bit frustrated, but he's never given up in this. So the race leaders work their way with a lap to run at the end, down towards the back of the paddock. Into turn 11 now comes Harry Newey. And so what has been an impeccable race so far has only got one more lap still to run. Through he comes. So Mick Schumacher through in 2nd spot. That gap has shot up now, 3.8 seconds. And then for 3rd, the last place on the podium, it's going to be Ralph Aaron. Yuri Vips is 4th, Joey Mawson is 5th, Dan Ticktum is 6th. The other point scorers, Felipe Drugovich, Presley Martineau, Manuel Maldonado, from the back of the grid to 9th, and then after his spin, Neil Verhagen has recovered for 10th, ahead of Katayama, Young after a spin, Ravashankar, Toby Sowry from a pit lane start, and Chia Wing Hung from the back of the grid. But the man at the very front is right here. Through comes Harry Newey, works his way through the back part of the circuit. Out of turns 6 and 7 he will come for the last time. Checkered flag being made ready. The last lap board is there for the back markers, and now the run down to turn 8 for Harrison Newey. His father, of course, known for his great work in Formula 1, but no mean racer himself in historics and also in modern day GT cars. Adrian took part at Le Mans a few years back in a Ferrari as an example, but he's been a staunch historic racer as well for many, many seasons, but now perhaps taking a bit of a back seat from that and concentrating on championing the cause of Harrison, his son, who is about to repay the faith, because here he comes down towards turn 12. Checkered flag is at the ready, and win number 5 in the MRF Challenge goes the way of Harry Newey, who wins race 1 of the weekend here. 3 more to come before we crown a champion. Mick Schumacher comes through to 2nd place. 3rd is going to be Ralph Aaron. 4th over the timing line is Yuri Vips, and Joey Mawson closing towards the end is 5th. And then for 6th, that gap has come right down, look, because right at the very end there, over the timing line, Dan Ticktum being reeled in by Felipe Drugovich. And then 8th, 9th, 10th, the order was Martono, Maldonado and Neil Verhagen, and that should be how they come out of the last corner. Over the line has just gone Presley Martono, and a virtual dead heat behind them, because Manuel Maldonado was just hundredths ahead of Neil Verhagen. It was almost dead level as they came over the timing line, so very close finish for 9th. Maldonado taking it from Verhagen, and then the non-scorers headed home by Katayama, then Young, then Ravashankar, and then Hung. But well done, Harrison Newey. Great drive, that, not a wheel wrong. Yuri Vips there, finishing in 4th place. But Harry Newey taking a slow in that, going wide to get the pickup on the tyres for the weight. Joey Mawson ending up in 5th, so damage limitation really in that race, but he does get himself on the front row of the grid for race 2. Dan Ticktum will be the man on pole, and there Neil Verhagen working his way down to the pit lane. Mick Schumacher also there, getting all the pick up on the tyres. And a good job done by Harry Newey in the end to win by 4.2 seconds. I think Mick Schumacher had also realised that the point was pushing. He had enough of a cushion in hand over Ralph Aaron. He was only going to catch the race leader, so settled for the points per second. It's interesting when you've heard this weekend from both Harrison Newey and Mick Schumacher that their attitude is, well, you know, if I win, I win, but it's not the end of the world because it's not my main focus for the year. It'll be FIA Formula 3, that's what I really want to win. But you can guarantee that if they do come out as champion, they will be very pleased indeed, because it's a tough championship to win this. Lots of track time, tough opposition, good circuits, and very well promoted by MRF, who have been great supporters of Indian motorsport, the Madras Rubber Factory, MRF, based down the road, as in comes Harry Newey, Dylan Young behind him. 12th he ended up. There's Ralph Aaron, who will be on the third step on the podium. Race winner Harrison Newey slots into position and will be very, very happy indeed. With his BRDC Rising Stars badge on his overalls, one of the two young driver programs operated by the BRDC, the British Racing Drivers Club. And Harrison Newey says thanks to his engineers. And we'll get round to Dad in a moment, but with Adrian's arm in his leg, he's got to be careful. Perfect drive, though, by Harry Newey, with his Van Amersfoort Racing F3 overalls on. Has all the badges from German motorsport bodies and Mercedes engines on his back. So Harrison Newey takes win number 5. Bahrain, 2 in Dubai, 1 in Delhi, now 1 in Chennai. Harrison Newey is the man of the moment, no argument. Perfect drive. Louise is ready to talk to him.
Harrison Newey, that was a fantastic drive from you, from start to finish.
Yeah, no, very happy with that. Yeah, I don't know who got fastest lap. Was it me? I don't know. But yeah, no, perfect race. The start wasn't great, but thankfully everyone else made a bad start, so it ended up all right. And then from there on, just head down, tried to be consistent, made no mistakes, and yeah, it was pretty good.
They've just told me in my ear that Mawson got fastest lap.
That's okay, it's all right.
Thanks, I'll let you go to the podium. And I'm just going to look for second and third place drivers. See if I can find Mick Schumacher. I just need to get you over to a camera. Now, Mick, after that start, it was all about getting through and getting on that podium, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess we would have been either way on the podium. But yeah, Ralph did the mistake, and I got past, and then was heading towards Harry. Didn't really get towards him, but yeah, looking forward to the next race.
Okay, thanks very much. And finally, we just speak to Ralph Aaron. He's just speaking to the team. Can I just disturb you? Sorry. So, Ralph, you've made it up to the third spot. Tell us about that move on Yuri.
Move on Yuri. Well, yeah, I got the positions in the start. That's yeah, I got a good start off the line and got into second. Unfortunately, made a dumb mistake and Mick got past. But yeah, anything else, just the whole race, nothing really happened.
Okay, I'll let you go and get the third spot. You're not too happy, I can tell.
That's like getting blood out of an Estonian, isn't it? So Ralph Aaron third, Mick Schumacher second, Harrison Newey the race winner. Confirmation of how the top 5 came across the line. Newey, Schumacher, Aaron, they go to the podium. Yuri Vips fourth, and Joey Mawson rounding out the top 5. For record behind it was Tictum 6th, Drugovic 7th, Martono 8th, Maldonado 9th, Verhagen 10th, and they were the 10 scorers. So Harrison Newey, race winner, and a lively start as we look back at the highlights as Yuri Vips tried one side and then the other to get past Mick Schumacher, but it didn't quite pay out for him. Dan Tictum round the outside, and early doors there was drama as Chia Wing Hong went off the road and had a spin. He was able to rejoin, ended up in last place though. Harry Newey led Ralph Aaron, and a big moment for Joey Mawson as he ran wide coming out of turn 1. He was able to recover from that and charge onto the tail of Dan Tictum. As the cars worked their way to turn 8, Mawson had a look on the inside, but Tictum once again was able to repel all challenges. And so Mawson ended up tucked up behind him as the cars threaded their way through the rest of the lap. Toby Sowery hustling on from the pit lane in one of the development cars. as Dylan Young tried to defend from Felipe Drugovic, Neil Verhagen in the mix as well. And it ended for those two with a spin for Dylan Young coming out of turn 9. Verhagen going off in avoidance. He recovered well, though, to finish in the top 10 and score a point first time out and on his 16th birthday. Newey led. Schumacher got past Aaron for second place and was able to work his way through in second spot, and then it was a fight for third between the Estonians of Aaron and Vips. In the end, Ralph Aaron being able to pull away and maintain the advantage as Harry Newey headed for race win number 5 of the season. So Arun Mammon, the managing director of MRF, is ready on the podium to receive the drivers at the end of race 1 of the weekend. It is 4 per championship weekend in the MRF Challenge for the 2-litre drivers, and Ralph Aaron it is who has had a race win this year, but after a mistake that let Mick Schumacher through, takes third place in race 1 of the weekend. For second place, it will be Mick Schumacher, the German driver, who makes his way up onto the podium. So more points, but not as many as go the way of race winner Harrison Newey, who becomes ever more of a thorn in the side of Joey Mawson as we have 3 more races to come. And so it is the British driver, Harry Newey, who will make his way for the top step of the podium. A very happy man indeed, and a perfect drive, you've got to say. Did not put a wheel wrong and was able to build the gap. As Harry Newey then wins race 1 of the MRF Challenge for the 2-litre cars here at the MMRT in Chennai. So the trophies are ready. Arun Mammon from MRF, the company's managing director, hands over the third place trophy to Ralph Aaron, who has now found the smile that was missing a little while ago when he was being interviewed by Louise. For second place, Mick Schumacher. Another trophy for the collection. There's a question mark about what they do with excess baggage if you have a really successful weekend over 4 races here, isn't there? And then Harrison Newey takes the trophy as race winner and gets closer in the championship, therefore, to Joey Mawson. The drivers all now pose for the photographs. So they've all been race winners this year, but it's a crucial result for Harry Newey because that brings him, as I say, even closer to the championship leader. 3 races to go, one of which comes up at the end of the afternoon at, all being well, 16:45 local time. But as the drivers make their way off the podium, Harry Newey can go like the rest, have a word with his engineers, but he will start the second race from 6th on the grid with the reversal that we have on the grid for the second and the 4th races from the grid based on the previous race finishing order with the top 6 in reversal. So that is all the action from race 1 of the MRF 2000s. There'll be more from these cars at 16:45, and we will have the second podium coming up now as the drivers for the rookie contest make their way onto the podium. And the end of a very hectic race. The top 3 rookie drivers receive the applause. And Arun Mammon will step forward to hand over the trophies. So those drivers from the 1600 category receiving trophies and will pose for photographs. Team representatives are there as well.
We have one more category, which is the FLGB 1300 National Championship category.
And the FLGB podium is also being conducted from earlier on in the day, the 1300cc drivers. And so the top 3 drivers now on the podium. Bhushan Tareja is the man who takes second place. And this is K. Prashant, who will be on the top step of the podium. So the earlier race that was held a couple of hours ago was for the Formula 1300 cars, and that was a win for K. Pravansh, who is there on the top step of the podium. Receives in a moment the trophy. And the winning team was Wallace Sports, which will be represented on the podium as well. But the winning rookie, Raghu Rangasamy, is there. He's also going to be out in the 1600cc cars. So the F1300 drivers are allowed up onto the podium for their ceremony, and they get another race tomorrow morning here. But for the 2-litre MRF Challenge drivers, they will be back on track at 16:45, all being well, because the timetable has slipped a bit with 1 or 2 delays early on. So from the MMRT for now, we'll have a short break. From David Addison and Louise Beckett, it's goodbye.